Miniature Landscape Hobbies is proudly supported by these sponsors. The new Flames of War supplement, Liberation of Italy, is about to launch, and this book marks a return to late war, specifically covering the Allied invasion of Italy from 1944 through to 1945. Now, personally, this is one of my favorite periods in Flames of War. Late war is where you get the really iconic heavy armor, the big cats, and you also get veteran troops, desperate defensive battles, and all kinds of strange equipment combinations that you don't really see earlier in the war. So naturally, I was very excited to dig into this book. And dig into it you must, because this thing is absolutely massive. The supplement comes in at over 240 pages long. And honestly, there's simply too much content here to go unit by unit through every entry in a reasonable length video. So instead of trying to cover every single stat line and formation, I want to focus on the standout elements, the unique formations, unusual units, and the things that make the supplement different from the other late war books. The book covers German forces, Italian Social Republic forces, those are the Italian troops who remained loyal to the Axis after their surrender, along with American, British, French, and finally the Italian Liberation Corps fighting alongside the Allies. And despite the sheer amount of game content packed into this book, Battlefront actually did a really nice job with the historical sections as well. But of course, this is a miniature wargaming book, so the real interest is the armies and the formations. And there are a lot of them. So let's go through the highlights faction by faction. First up are the Germans. Now, when it comes to infantry, things are going to feel very familiar to existing Flames of War players. Fallschirmjäger companies, Panzer Grenadiers, and regular Grenadiers are all here and largely use the standard late war German stats and the rules that players already know. Typically, you're looking at troops that are hit on a 4+, with a skill of 3+. The regular infantry sit at a motivation of 4+, while the Fallschirmjäger improve to a much better 3+. They still get all the expected German special rules, like Stormtrooper, which remains one of the defining mechanics of German armies in the game. Of course, you pay for these solid stats. German infantry are rarely cheap in terms of points, and if you've played late war before, there's really not many surprises in the core infantry formations. Except for one. The Static Defense Grenadier Company is actually pretty interesting. These represent second-line troops garrisoning defensive positions and fortified strong points. And unlike regular German infantry, these guys are noticeably worse troops. They drop all the way down to a green skill with a 5+ skill rating and a matching last stand. More importantly, they're hit on a 3+, which is a major downgrade compared to the standard German infantry. But that reduction in quality also means reduced points cost, so if you want to bulk out your German force with cheaper defensive infantry, these guys could be very useful. Now let's move on to the tanks. And naturally, all of the usual late war subjects are present. Tigers, Panthers, StuGs, Panzer IVs, they're all here. Most Flames of War players already know exactly what these units do, but there are a few new formations worth talking about here. The first is the Hermann Göring mixed Panzer III and Panzer IV company. Now on paper, Panzer IIIs in late war are not exactly impressive. They're pretty heavily outclassed by this point in the war, but this formation is actually interesting for two reasons. First, mechanically, you can mix Panzer IIIs and Panzer IVs together in the same platoons. That means that you can exploit the mistaken target rule using the cheaper Panzer IIIs to absorb incoming fire while keeping your more valuable Panzer IVs alive longer. And second, and honestly more importantly, this formation gives you an excuse to get your Panzer III models back on the table. Outside of mid-war, they rarely see any use, and nobody wants cool models collecting dust on the shelf. Next up is the Elephant Tank Hunter Platoon. These monsters are back. upgraded from the early Ferdinand configuration. Front armor 16 combined with an anti-tank 17 gun makes these things terrifying at long range. You can even take an entire company of these if you really want to, though realistically, you probably won't have the points. These are brutally expensive vehicles, but appropriately so. Then we get to some genuinely new German vehicles, the StuG M42 and M43 companies. These are actually captured Italian Semivente assault guns pressed into German service after the Italian surrender. The M42 is honestly not very impressive in late war. It's got weak armor, mediocre firepower, and with a front armor of just 4, this doesn't hold up well by 1944 standards. This feels very much like a discount assault gun option for German players. Still, I could see these things being fun in larger numbers or in more thematic Italian campaign forces. The M43, however, is much more valuable. This version mounts either the German 75mm long gun or a useful 105mm with the brutal rule. Front armor 6 puts it roughly in line with many medium tanks of the line, which actually makes it reasonably competitive. I don't think the M43 becomes an essential auto-take unit, but it definitely feels playable and adds some nice variety. Before leaving the German section, there's one more interesting support choice, the Armoured 88mm AA Platoon. These are half-track mounted 88s, and while they're fragile, with only front armor 1, mounting the gun on a vehicle means they cannot be pinned by incoming fire. That could actually make them surprisingly effective long-range tank killers if positioned properly with good lines of sight. Now we move on to the Italian Social Republic forces, Italians who remained aligned with Germany after the surrender. These formations are mostly infantry-focused. The regular infantry companies are actually fairly similar to German grenadiers in structure and leadership style. Thanks to German training and officers, they even get the stormtrooper rule. Their stats are slightly weaker though, skill 4+, hit on a 3+, and generally they come with older support equipment. These aren't really bargain basement troops though, but they do sit somewhere between regular Germans and lower quality Axis infantry. The parachutist company here is stronger. These troops improve to being hit on a 4+, gain fearless motivation, and have a solid 3+ assault rating. They're effectively a slightly cheaper alternative to German Fallschirmjägers. Then there's the reconnaissance company. Stat-wise, they're similar to regular Italian infantry, but importantly, they gain the scout rule and access to the AB-41 armored cars. These vehicles aren't especially powerful, but the Spearhead rule opens up some really interesting deployment possibilities. The support options include the classic Semivente 75/18 assault gun, which honestly feels very outdated by late war standards, although it can still function as an artillery support piece. One unit that I do want to highlight though here is the Engineer Platoon. Why? Well, because of flamethrowers. If you want flamethrowers in a purely Italian Axis force, this is your only real option to get them, and in Flames of War, flamethrowers are always really entertaining. That caps off the Axis, so we can move on to the Americans. And honestly, there's not a huge amount here that will surprise any experienced US players. Shermans are everywhere, M5 Stuarts are here too, as well as Chaffees, M10s, and M18 Hellcats. What's interesting is that this book reflects the reality that by this stage of the war, many US formations in Italy were experienced veteran troops. So unlike some earlier books where Americans can split heavily between veteran and green formations, most units here get the stronger veteran-style stats. The main exception, though, is the Italy Rifle Company. These units are equipped normally, but they're aggressive, meaning that they're hit on a 3+. That makes them cheaper and gives American players an option to bulk out their forces with less survivable infantry. If elite troops are more your thing, though, the book also includes the 1st Special Service Force and Rangers. These formations are small and lightly supported, but the infantry themselves are extremely dangerous. Fearless motivation, 2+ rally, and a 2+ assault rating means these guys are terrifying in assaults. Interestingly though, unlike many elite units in Flames of War, they're still hit on a 3+, representing a more aggressive style of combat. These troops are going to hit very hard, but they absolutely come at a premium in terms of points. Now we're on to the French, and this is honestly one of the coolest additions in the book, because late war French forces are pretty rare in Flames of War. These are troops rebuilt from liberated French units and forces that escaped German occupation earlier in the war. Most of their equipment is American, although often older generation gear. The two formations here are the Tirailleurs Company and the Gaume Infantry. And yes, I'm sorry, I know I'm pronouncing those wrong. The Tirailleurs are solid all-round infantry. Fearless motivation, skill 4+, hit on 4+, and importantly, they also have a strong 3+ assault rating. These look like a dependable and versatile option, but the really unique unit here is the Gaume. These are Moroccan mountain troops, and they are very different from most Allied forces. The company is small, lightly equipped, and lacks heavy weapons beyond mortars. But they gain the Mountaineer and Scout abilities, giving them very useful mobility options. Stat-wise, they're aggressive, motivation 3+, skill 4+, assault 3+, and hit on 3+. Honestly, these are one of the most interesting units in the entire book. They look fun, thematic, and completely different from standard Allied infantry. I'm generally excited to try these out, although I honestly have no idea how to best use them yet, so if you've got any ideas, definitely put them down in the comments. Now on to the British, and much like the Americans, these will be very familiar to late war players already. Shermans, Fireflies, Churchills, all the classics are here, with their usual stat lines and support options. The infantry consists mainly of motor companies and rifle companies. Their stats are what you would expect from British infantry: motivation 4+, counterattack 3+, skill 4+, and assault 3+. That strong counterattack and assault combination is what has always made British infantry so versatile in Flames of War. They can attack reasonably well, but they're also extremely difficult to push off objectives once they're dug in. Finally, we come to the Italian Liberation Corps, Italians fighting alongside the Allies. The main formations are rifle companies and parachute companies. The rifle companies are solid all-round infantry with 4+ motivation, improved follow me and rally values, trained skill, and they're hit on a 4+. Like most Italian forces, their support equipment isn't especially impressive, but the troops themselves still look perfectly playable. If you want a full Italian late war army on the Allied side, this is really your starting point. The parachute company upgrades things a little further with fearless motivation and better assault capability. They're not really truly elite, but they do give Italian players a more aggressive infantry option. Support-wise, the Italians mostly rely on older artillery and weapons. But there's one really fun addition here: the Maella Partisan Platoon. These guys are cheap extra infantry, and like partisans in other books, they're not especially strong, but they do get the already here rule, meaning they can deploy even in reserve scenarios. Probably not battle winning, but definitely thematic and fun. Lastly, we have the Gruppi di Combattimento formations. These are Italian units integrated alongside British and American forces. they can actually be allied into either faction and effectively act as attachments to your main army. They use British equipment and have respectable all-round stats, making them an easy way to add some Italian flavor and variety to otherwise standard Allied forces. And this wraps up the units in the book. Everything finishes up with a linked Gothic Line campaign, along with some fortification rules. Overall, there's a huge amount of content packed into this book. So in the end, what do I think about this book? Overall, I think Liberation of Italy is a good addition to Flames of War, but not an essential purchase, unless you specifically enjoy the Italian campaign. But if you enjoy themed armies, unusual formations, or just want to add some variety to existing late war forces, there's a lot to like about this book. The French alone make it very interesting. The Italian formations are generally unique, and there's enough oddball German units in here to keep veteran Axis players entertained as well. Overall, I think this is a really solid supplement, and a welcome addition to any late war lineup. So what are you waiting for? Get your copy of this book, and get down to some liberating. See you on the games table. Join my Patreon for early access to my videos, hobby discounts from tons of great retailers, and loads of STL files for wargaming accessories. See you next time for more miniature gaming, painting, and diorama videos. But most importantly, until then, remember to keep building life in miniature.